The night Chief Juma ate a man. I still hear his screams in my sleep. It was the night they dragged Keto into the chief's hut. We knew he would not come out alive. We knew, but we said nothing. We just stood there, watching. Like trees. Let me tell you what happened before the truth disappears with all bones in the dust. Chief Juma was not like the old chief. Our last leader, Mzee Baraka, was firm but fair. He listened to the elders. He walked among the people. He didn't sit high in his hut looking down at us like dogs. But when he died, Juma, his nephew, took over. No one chose him. He took the seat by force with men from outside the village, men with sharp eyes and sharper blades. People started to vanish. At first, it was just strange. A goat missing. Then 2 chickens. Then a boy. His name was Tomu. He was only 9. His mother screamed for days. But Juma said he went into the forest alone. Hyenas must have taken him. We knew that was a lie. Keto was my big brother. Strong arms, loud laugh. He was not scared of anyone. Not even Juma. He spoke up when others kept quiet. He's hiding something, Keto said one night when we sat by the fire. I saw him digging behind his hut at night. Alone. What do you mean? I asked. Graves, he said, lies dark. Small ones. Too small for goats. I told him to keep quiet. I told him the chief would hear. But Keto just spat in the fire and said, let him hear. Then came the woman from the mountain. She had white eyes and a crooked leg. She came to the market and pointed at Juma's hut. Something evil sleeps there, she said. Not a man. A beast in man's skin. Juma had her dragged away. The next morning, her body was hanging from the mango tree, tongue swollen, flies dancing on her face. That day, Keto went to the elders. This cannot go on, he told them. We must remove him. But the elders sat in silence. One of them, old Mzee Kofi, stood up and whispered, "Do you think we have not tried?" What do you mean? He sees everything, Kofi said. He smells fear. And he feeds on it. The full moon came, and with it, the festival. A time of music, dancing, roasted meat. But that year, it was different. The drums were quiet. The meat was raw. And Juma stood before us, wearing a lion's skin and holding a black stick. He raised his hand and said, "Tonight we offer a gift to the spirits." And then he pointed to Keto. People gasped. My knees turned to water. Keto stood still, a fist clenched. No, I whispered. Yes, Juma said. Take him. 4 of his men rushed forward. Keto fought hard, broke one man's nose. But they beat him down and tied his hands. I screamed, but no one helped. Not even the elders. They dragged him into the chief's hut. The door shut. Then the drums began. That night I didn't sleep. No one did. We all heard it. The screams. The sounds of tearing. The low growl like a wild dog. And then, silence. When morning came, the hut was clean. No blood. No body. Nothing. Juma came out, smiling. His teeth red like he had chewed beetroot. Enjoy the sun, he said. I could not live with the silence. I went to the back of the hut that night, just like Keto said. There was a pit there. I dug fast, with bare hands, in the dirt. I found bones. Small bones. Human bones. And something was, half a face. My brother's face. His eyes still open, mouth frozen in a silent scream. I ran. But Juma was already standing behind me. You should not have come here, he said. I tried to run. He grabbed me, but I slipped free and fell into the pit. I don't know how I climbed out. I don't remember how I ran back to my house. But I remember this, he let me go. He wanted me to speak. That morning, the whole village heard me cry. I showed them the bones. And still, they said nothing. He is cursed, Mzee Kofi said. If we fight him, more will die. But he is eating us. I shouted. You want to wait until it's your turn? They turned their backs. That night, I packed my things and left. I walked 3 days to the next village and told them everything. They laughed. They said these are folktales, boy. But 2 moons later, they sent a runner to me. The village was gone. Burnt. All of it. Only ashes and bones. And Juma? No one ever saw him again. Some say he turned into a hyena and lives in the forest. Others say he moved to a new village, wears a new face, a new name. I don't know. All I know is this. When the drums sound and the meat smells raw, leave. Before the chief comes out smiling. People don't believe me. That's fine. But I keep a bone in my bag. A piece of Keto's finger. Sometimes, at night, it twitches. Like it wants to point at something. Or someone. I tried to forget. I tried to live like a normal man in the new village. I worked on a farm. I married a kind woman named Laila. We had a child. But peace is not something that stays with a man who has seen what I've seen. Sometimes at night, when the wind blew hard, I would hear those drums again. Even in this new place. One night, while sitting by the fire, I saw something strange in the flames. A face. His face. Juma. His eyes were black holes. His mouth opened wider than a man's mouth should. Then I heard a voice. You ran, it said. I threw water on the fire. My wife jumped up. What's wrong? She asked. Nothing, I lied. But it was not nothing. It was a warning. A few weeks later, a stranger came to the village. He was tall, wore a red robe, and had a scar across his face. He said his name was Baruti. Said he was a trader passing through. But I recognized him. He was one of Juma's men, the one Keto had broken the nose of. The nose had healed crooked, like a bent tree branch. That night, I followed him. He went into the forest, carrying a sack. I waited until he left, then went to see what he was doing. I found a pile of animal bones. But not just animals. One skull was too round. Too human. I ran back to the village and told the elders. You are chasing ghosts, they said. Let the past die. I wanted to scream. The past is not dead. It walks. But they turned their faces, just like before. Then the blood moon came. A red sky. The air felt heavy. Dogs howled. Goats refused to eat. My baby cried all night. And then the child disappeared. My child. Her name was Nia. She was only 2 years old. We searched the whole village. Laila was screaming, pulling her hair. Then I saw the red-robed man standing outside my house. You should not have run, he said. He still remembers. I charged at him with a machete. He vanished like smoke. That night, I sat alone in my hut, holding Nia's little shoe. I knew what I had to do. I had to go back. The road back to my old village was quiet. The trees were dry, as if life had left them. No birds. No insects. Just dust and silence. When I reached the village, I stopped in shock. It was gone. No huts. No fences. Just black ground and bones. But in the center, the chief's hut still stood. I walked toward it slowly. My machete in hand. My heart pounding. Inside, it was cold. The air smelled of rot. And then I saw them, the faces on the wall. Human faces. Dried like leather. Eyes sewn shut. Mouth still open. I dropped my machete. Keto, I whispered. His face was there too. Then I heard breathing behind me. He was standing there. Juma. Not older. Not thinner. Still the same. As if time had left him untouched. You came back, he said. Where's my child? He smiled. She's with the others. You should not have left. You broke the circle. What circle? The hunger, he said. It must be fed. Always. I picked up the machete and swung at him. He caught it midair. With one hand. Like it was a toy. You cannot kill me, he said. I carry the spirit of the eater. The one who walked this land before men had names. Then let it eat me, I shouted. No, he said. It wants your fear. And then he dropped the machete and stepped back. I will give you 3 days. Bring me another, and I will return your child. I stood frozen. Choose, brother, he said. Give me a life, or lose one forever. I ran back to the next village. Told the elders everything again. They called me mad. I begged. He wants someone. Anyone. If I don't go back with a person, my daughter dies. One man stepped forward, Kibo. A drunk, a thief, always in trouble. He looked at me and said, take me. I stared at him, shocked. Why? I have nothing, he said. But you do. A child. I didn't know what to say. He laughed. Besides, I want to see if your monster is real. We walked together back to the ruins. When we reached the hut, Juma was waiting. You brought a gift, he said. Kibo stepped forward. I'm no gift. I'm the curse. Then he pulled a knife and slashed Juma's chest. But nothing happened. Juma grabbed him by the throat and lifted him in the air. I watched, helpless, as Kibo screamed and was thrown into the fire pit. Juma turned to me. You tried to cheat. I didn't know, I said. I will take both now. No, wait. But he was gone again. I ran into the forest, shouting Nia's name. And then I saw her. She was standing by a tree. But something was wrong. Her eyes were black. Her skin pale. She looked at me but did not smile. Papa, she said. My heart broke. I'm here, baby, I said, kneeling. She walked toward me slowly. Too slowly. And then I saw it, her shadow. It moved differently. Like it didn't belong to her. When I touched her hand, it was cold. You are not my daughter, I said. Her lips curled. She belongs to us now. I ran. I don't know how long I ran. I woke up in a hospital days later. They found me unconscious on the road. No one believed my story. They said I lost my mind. Maybe I did. Now I live in the city. I work at the market. People think I'm quite strange. But sometimes, when I sit alone, I hear the bone in my back twitch. I hear it whisper. He is still out there. He wears many faces now. Some nights, I follow the whispers. I go to strange places. I see strange people. One day, I know I'll find him again. And this time, I won't run. Months passed. I tried to stay quiet. Tried to forget the sound of her voice that called, "Hello, Papa." But one day, a man came to my stall at the market. Old, hunched, eyes cloudy. He didn't speak at first. Just stared at me. Do I know you? I asked. He didn't answer. Just pulled something from his pocket and placed it in my palm. A small bone. Just like mine. My blood froze. You've seen him, I whispered. He nodded slowly. Juma walks again. Where? North. Near the hills of Momba. My hands shook. What is he doing there? He builds again. A new village. A new face. But the hunger is the same. I wanted to drop the bone. I wanted to run. But the old man leaned close. There are others like you. Who knows? Who remembered? I swallowed hard. What can we do? He looked at me with tired eyes. Gather. Prepare. The eater never stops. But neither do the ones who survived him. We met at night. In broken buildings, in old churches, in forgotten caves. The ones who had seen him. Survivors. Widows. Orphans. There were 12 of us. One woman, Mama Rina, said she watched Juma drink her husband's blood like soup. Another man, Luca, said Juma took his newborn and replaced it with a creature that cried with a man's voice. We had all seen different faces. But it was the same thing underneath, Juma or whatever spirit lived in him. I say we burn his village down, Luca growled. Torch everything. No, Mama Rina said. Fire won't stop him. He walks out of flames. So what do we do? Someone asked. Then the old man from the market, his name was Molamu, stepped forward. We go back to the root, he said. To the place where it began. The first pit. The first bones. I knew what he meant. Back to my old village. Back to the pit behind the hut. We moved by night, quiet like ghosts. When we reached the ruins, the air felt heavier. Even the moon looked afraid. We found the pit again. Still there. Still deep. We started digging. Bone after bone came out. And then we found something strange, an old mask made of wood and skin. Not human skin. Something else. This is it, Molomu said. The spirit's vessel. What do we do with it? I asked. We trap him in it. How? With blood. No one spoke. Whose blood? Luca asked. Molamu looked at me. Mine. We followed the old ways. The forgotten rites. Molamu guided us. He cut my palm and poured my blood on the mask. Then we placed it in the center of the pit and formed a circle. We chanted the words he taught us. The wind picked up. The earth shook. Then we heard footsteps. Juma was coming. His face was not the same. Younger now. Handsome even. But the eyes, they were the same black holes I saw in the fire. He walked into the circle. So many faces, he said, laughing. So much fear. Then his skin cracked. Smoke poured out of his mouth. His fingers grew long and sharp. You cannot bind me, he said. But Molamu held up the bone. The one I always carried. You are already bound, he said. To every life you took. He threw the bone into the pit. The ground opened. Juma screamed, a sound that shook the sky. We held our ground as the wind swallowed him whole. Then, silence. The pit sealed itself. The mask turned to ash. We stood there, breathing hard, shaking. It was over. Or so we thought. A year passed. I tried to believe it was done. That the spirit was gone. That my daughter's soul was at peace. But I know better now. Evil like that doesn't die. It just hides. It sleeps. It waits. One of the 12, Mama Rina, disappeared last month. And then Luca. One by one, we are being picked off again. I still carry the bone. But now, I carry a second one too. A small one. My daughter's. Some nights, I feel her with me. I talk to her. Nia, if you can hear me. I'm sorry. The wind always answers. And when the wind is silent, I hear the whisper. Papa. I sleep with one eye open now. Because somewhere, under some other name, behind some other smile. The chief walks again. And this time, he will come for me.